All right, we are going to begin here in just a moment, as soon as I make sure that I have everything running on my end. It's been about a month since my last stream here, so hello everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Let me make sure I got my chat working, and we can go ahead and begin. See if we're going out. All right, an ad's playing, so I think we're gonna be good. Okay, so let me know if you guys can hear me all right on your end, and let me make sure that we are good here really quick. I'm getting some dropped frame errors. Let me know if the video and audio is good on your end, and I will go ahead and just start here. So this is a character that I have been working on for just since this morning. So I've spent maybe probably a little over 2 or 3 hours, like right around there, working on this dude. I spent most of the time up on the face, which I think is pretty obvious. The rest of this stuff is just kind of blocked in really quick. I was just about to create some arms for this dude, so I thought that would be fun. We can probably do that next. I blocked out a couple of those pieces there, and you can see that we have some pretty junky hands in here. So essentially what we're going to do is just hang out, do some sculpting, and I'm here to answer some questions and talk your ear off for a little bit. But yeah, if you don't know who I am, I'm Polygon. You guys can check out my stuff over on my YouTube channel, YouTube/Polygon, or wherever my browser is. You guys can check out my Gumroad if you want to check out some of my courses, brushes, materials, etc., etc. Gumroad.com/Polygon. And there's my YouTube channel and spelling if it's not on the page for you there. All right, let's get to work on Fat Boy here. And by the way, Luis Gadea is the name of the concept artist. Let me pull up their stuff just so we can give them a nice shout out here in the beginning. Luis Gadea, maybe Luis, I don't know. But go ahead and check out their stuff. They have an ArtStation page. You can go give them a follow. They have a ton of awesome stuff. Again, this is the guy that we're going to be working on tonight. Really cool concept, really cool artist in general, lots of cool stuff. So if you're looking for some stylized characters to work on, probably a great place to start. Jefferson, what is going on? How did I put the image on the side? Yes, that is the spotlight tool, and you can find that up in your texture palette here. So you can import an image, select the image, and click on the Add to Spotlight button. What I've done is I've blacked out the background so that it will appear transparent, because ZBrush looks at black, pure black, as supposed to be transparent. Yes, the lumberjack. Well, he's not really a oh, me. No, not quite. Not quite there yet. But I don't know, we're just kind of seeing what's going on. What's going on, Ben? Welcome, man. Alright, so I was working on the arms, and we're going to do some more stuff here. So originally I had this little, let me scroll back here in my undos so you guys can see. So originally I had this like little piece just attached to there. I just pulled it out with my move brush. And I decided that just looking at the shape here, like look at the silhouette on the outside of the character, I think it just makes more sense for me mentally to start doing that, so I can start getting that nice clean silhouette and wrapping that around to the other side. And then I've just connected that up to the arm, just for mental purposes for me, so that I can kind of sculpt on this and have it proportionally make sense. So I'm going to go ahead and remesh this body, since it's all just a big Dynamesh piece. You can see that I've quickly just poly painted on it to help figure out some proportions. But again, like I said, most of the work's been up on the face. So let me remesh this thing really quick here. Let's see. We'll just do a quick 1K. Semper, what's going on? How do you approach anime noses when sculpting? I always have doubts on the front. Yeah, no problem. So, anime characters typically don't have noses. If you look at it from the profile, it's normally just a little kind of triangular shape in profile, and that's about it. So, I don't have any characters right now, but actually one of my students in my course that I'm running right now has a character like that, and I can't really do it with this dude because he's got a big honkin' schnoz, but essentially what I like to do, and I think what makes the most sense, actually, you know what, here, there is, let me see, where is it? It's like an anime base head in here. It might be a project, so I don't really want to open it up. Let's see. Let's see if we can give big boy here a quick anime nose. We'll just smooth this out. It'll look really bad, but it'll get the point across. So typically what I do is essentially this. So you just get that little bump in there. This guy's gonna look great with a little anime nose. So essentially that's like basically it. And what you can do is start pinching it from the front and like planing it out on the sides a little and just starting to get a little silhouette break. So from the front, it will essentially look like the character doesn't really have much of a nose. But from the profile, you'll still get the silhouette hit. The shape here isn't, you know, probably as good as I would want it. I can still like manipulate this, but I think you get the basic idea. So that's how I would go about that. Let me grab our big real schnoz here really quick. Make sure we go back to the right place. Ooh, right about there. There we go. All right, so where were we? Doing a quick little remesh on our body. Easy enough. Do some quick little projections here, mainly just for the quick little poly paint, even though it's really rough. Still kind of want that in there. I am using color to my advantage on this character so that I can help figure out proportions. The vest needs to come down lower, and in turn, I think that's going to make the base of this arm quite a bit wider, which is something that I've been struggling to figure out proportionally since I put this here. So I think that's what we're going to be doing next. So let's just grab this thing and start making these large. Probably larger than what we want initially, but I like to go a little bit too big at first or a little bit too far and then kind of scale it back. Let's start there. And no problem, Semper. Happy to help, man. Let's see. Alright, it looks like we're not getting any more dropped frames as well, so I'm happy about that. Alright, so let's take a look here at our body as well as our arms and just try to positionally figure out what we want to do here. So I've scaled these up quite a bit. I think the profile's lacking as well. So it's really tough when you have a character like this that is essentially in a pretty extreme pose. His body's being tilted and, you know, the shape of his spherical body is pretty warped. So I have to kind of imagine what this looks like with him standing in a little bit of a neutral pose, which isn't the easiest thing in the world for those, I'm sure, that have done something similar. It's always fun to figure this stuff out. It's a lot of work, though. Should probably turn off RGB on my smooth brush. Alright, so what I got here, again, is just some quick little poly paint. Let's bring this lower. Just doing a quick little visual measurement. I'm thinking that's probably more so at about the halfway mark, halfway down from point of collar to brown pant, maybe a little bit higher. So if we draw that out, there's the halfway point, so like ever so slightly higher for that bottom line. So about there. So we will just take our little paintbrush here and scribble that in really quick, just as a placeholder. We don't want to create the vest right now until we get the rest of the proportions later. Or until we get the proportions now, and then we can do the vest later. If we move too far ahead and do the vest now, well, then we have to manipulate multiple layers of things. So it doesn't really make sense to do that. Just create more work for yourself. So let's see. So proportionally, that's feeling a little bit better. Just with the scale, let me see here. I'm gonna turn off symmetry, do a little skew to the side, and kind of got like we got the appropriate roundness going on. I think it's just a matter of working with our arms to get the rest of this up top to feel a bit better, because right now it feels quite misproportioned. And I'm wondering, there's a lot of stuff that needs to change in the face as well, but I'm wondering if I want to scale that up a little bit. We'll think about that. We'll think about that for a minute. Armoreus, I believe I'm saying that correctly. Welcome. Thanks for the feedback the other day on Twitter. No problem, man. Are you planning on doing that again? Yeah, I don't know. Probably. I was just kind of sitting around and I was like, sure, let's do some critiques. Over on my YouTube channel, I do some critiques from time to time as well, if anybody is familiar with those, but I've just been really busy with my course lately. But yeah, probably. It's not like on the schedule, not on the calendar or anything, but I'm sure I'll do it again. Alright, so what I'm seeing here is just a little indication of an elbow hit on the corner there. I mean, obviously over here, quite a bit different, just differently shaped arms in general. So that'll be fun to play with. But for now, just kind of in the neutral pose, let's just cut that right through there. Maybe bevel that a little tighter. Let's see. For sure, bevel that a little bit tighter. I'm just trying to get that silhouette break now. As well as offsetting the rotation of our arms. Even in the neutral, it's nice to get that from feeling so stiff and straight. Even for a big boy like this. Alright. Let me see here. Alright. I'm going to taper this line up a little faster. I might have that angle incorrect, but I'm going to leave it for now. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be doing some more free crits on the YouTube channel as well. Essentially what I do is just shoot me an email and I'll take a look. But there are quite a few in the queue, just because, like I said, I haven't done them in a minute. Amarildo Grotto, what is going on? And welcome to the stream. Happy to have you here. How is you? Let's see. Keep playing with that arm shape here for a little bit. I want to pull the face higher. Give him a bit more room down here. Also, the head being on that tilt creates this kind of awkwardness where I can't really figure out the shape super well, so I've kind of done a little bit of an in-between on both. So once I go to do that, his skull is like sloshing around inside of his skin, essentially, so he's got a lot going on there, but he's a cool dude. Cool character. So we'll figure it out. Alright, let's do some stuff down here in the legs while we're kind of thinking about limbs. Let's see. I think these need to be a bit wider. This is just kind of a little bit more thin just because of it being further away from the camera. Just some foreshortening, perspective stuff going on there. And you know, I think we're probably a little bit too large down here in general, and that might be what's kind of throwing off some of the other stuff in our body. But we'll mess with that here in a moment. Let's go ahead and let's see. These are pretty parallel. Just get a little bit of some offset through here. Still beginner in ZBrush, and I see that you have many layers to form the character, as in Photoshop. This is super cool. Yeah, these aren't actually, they're not layers, they're just all separate objects, or 3D polygonal islands is a way to think of it. So for example, they're called subtools. So I have one up here for the head. That's all just one thing. You know, the eyes are one thing by themselves. This quick little hat up there is one thing. The body's one thing, right? It's definitely a kind of a beginner hurdle to get over. In the beginning, you try to make everything as one single object, and obviously it doesn't turn out super great because of that. It's not really a great workflow in general. So once you kind of figure out how to use lots of different objects, it starts making a little bit more sense. I have 22 right now, which is pretty average for where I'm at. I'm gonna guess by the time I'm done with this guy, it's gonna be maybe around like 30 or 40. Just including the bag, the buttons, the vest, the tie, maybe some other stuff up on the hat. I need to do more with the shoes. Right now I've just poly modeled these in ZBrush. I've added in probably too many edge loops down here. Let's go ahead and mess with these too. Pretty simple shape overall. I've kept this pretty flat. I was just trying to get the profile initially. Probably gone a little bit too far here. So we want to pull up the edge here. I also want to use a live boolean to essentially separate the heel from the back of the shoe. I know there's not really a lot to go off of for that foot. It's very hard to see, and it's very small. And it's dark, which is pretty much all the things that make something difficult to understand the form of. We'll take a look here a little bit closer. Keep playing with the shape. And getting a bit too rounded in the back. Essentially what I do when I'm poly modeling stuff, so if I'm just trying to get a little bit of a tighter turn, I'll add in a quick edge loop close to that face just to keep it from turning so quickly. And it's feeling pretty good. Do the heel as well. So a little trick that I like to use when I am poly modeling some stuff in ZBrush is that I will use the slice curve brush. You can hold Control and Shift, select the slice curve brush up here. You can use that to add in quick poly loops. It's not like meant for that technically, but it does a really good job at it. I like using it for it. All right, let's grab a live boolean here. Turn this on negative. Rotation got a little messed up there. Alright, so now I can take this little cube that I've created, slide it up, and start creating essentially what is going to be the heel of my shoe. I can kind of separate that. We're going to work on the shape here in just a moment. Oh, let's turn off some stuff. Looks like there's also some roundness happening to the shoe. So let's let's, here, I'm trying to grab this one alone so we can get rid of the other one. There we go. All right, let's do some quick poly loops here and there. So I'm going to make the shoe a little bit more round. And a cool thing that you can do in ZBrush, if you don't have something on the symmetrical plane, like I do not right now, you can turn on local sim, and ZBrush will look at your geometry and determine symmetry that way. Cool little trick. So I'm gonna add some roundness to the top of the shoe. And let's turn that off for a moment. I'm just going to shape this up for a quick moment. Let's see. I'm going to get rid of some of these edge loops. They're just a little too tight. Got to be careful working with edge loops with symmetry on as well. It can cause a lot of crashes, or at least in the past it did. It doesn't seem to do it quite as much as it used to. So I think I more so quick save out of habit than anything else. And let's also add, whoops. Try to break sim a little bit. So really simple shapes so far, but that's how all things start, one step at a time. What button or shortcut do you use for smoothing? It is the Shift key to activate your smooth brush. And if you hold Shift and smooth and continue smoothing and let go of the Shift key, it will use the alternative smoothing algorithm, which kind of works by averaging your geometry a little bit less destructively than the default smooth brush. I'm gonna add a little bit more roundness to the heel. Let's see. I know, poly modeling, it's the most fun thing in the world, but it's gotta be done if we want our shoes to be nice and clean. And I do want my shoes to be clean. Let's see. We're gonna work on the actual hole for the shoe to fit in, or the foot to fit into the shoe as well. But first, we just gotta get that most basic shape. Turn on our little negative piece here. His shoes are very flat, which is a little awkward. Gotta fix my cube here. It's like skewed or something. You know what? Here. Nah, I can't do it now. I'm gonna show you guys a cool little trick for fixing skew in a primitive. If you have an object, something like this, and you want to get it back to being perfectly flat, you can correct that just by using your transpose line or a clip brush. I'm going through and reclipping the different faces to make sure that it is perfectly flat. So that's good to go now. Alright, so I want to make some taper here. Kind of like very, very small thing. I think I want to make those more wide as well. Here, let's take a step back. Look at our pant legs for a moment. And I cannot rotate those right now, but I will in a moment. All right. So pant legs need to be thicker, which is going to make our shoes a little bit larger. Or actually, no, the shoes look pretty small in comparison. So let's just scale these up. Doesn't really have knees to speak of. There's a little silhouette break for a fold of some kind. But other than that, that's really about it. But looking at the distance from where this connects up, our distance is quite a bit further, which is what makes me think that proportionally he needs to squash down here in the belly to become a little bit less oblong, a little bit more spherical. If anything, a little bit more of a squashed sphere on the bottom. I can start heading in that direction, I think. And that'll help us get our legs in a better place. Oh, and by the way, polyframe and transparency, some of that stuff doesn't work super well with live Boolean. Hadi, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you. It's been about a month since the last stream here. So coming back and just working on a pretty cool concept. Just hanging out. ZBrush and chill, as I call it. Olsanster, maybe. I highly doubt that I am saying that correctly. Thank you, man. That's very kind of you. And welcome. Sorry I missed your message from before. Alright, so looking at that distance, what can we do here? I think we can probably just take some form off of here. Let me see, let me look at this in perspective. Turn off the legs real quick. Alright. It's actually not super far off, at least for the neutral. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to match our silhouette perfectly until we get into posing. Which is always a tough thing, right? You have to live or work and exist in kind of this this unknown area where you're like, is it right? Is it good for now? Like, should I just continue chugging forward? It's kind of a weird area, but it's all part of the process. It'll get there eventually. I think I was probably wrong to go ahead and start getting some extra form down here already. Let me see. Kind of a skewed shape. Turn off perspective. I pretty much always anymore at least work with perspective on most of the time and just turn it off to check on my orthographics. If I'm working really close on an object though, I will turn perspective off because it tends to mess up some movements with your camera. It doesn't mess them up, but it makes it move very quickly. And that gets pretty annoying for me at least. Alright, I'm gonna jump into Transpose Master so that I can move multiple objects at once very quickly. Ah, Eric, what's up, man? Sailor mouth dolphin noise. What's going on, dude? Just watching your Pass the Sculpt. That's right. Heck yeah. Got to hang out and chat with Shane the other day. Shane Olsen, for those that aren't familiar. He streams here on the channel as well. doing a little pass the sculpt fun thing over on my YouTube channel, which I can show you guys real quick. YouTube/Polygon. It's about an hour long. Essentially what we were doing was... Shut up, Shane. Come on. Essentially what we were doing was we were both just kind of sculpting these two characters. The concepts were by Luigi Lucarelli. There's a link if you guys go to this video to his work, or you can just Google him. He's got an art station. Definitely check him out. But yeah, we're just kind of sculpting away. And essentially what we are doing at the end of the hour is swapping the sculpts between each other. And then we're going to continue sculpting on those. But yeah, a lot of fun. Good stuff. Shane's a good guy. Knows his stuff for show. But that was a lot of fun. So we're going to have another part of that here soon. We're talking about probably trying to record some point this week. But he and I are both crazy busy right now, so we're just trying to make time. It was a lot of fun, though, so we definitely want to do it again. Where are you from? I am from Cincinnati, Ohio. How much do you make for a living? I make $1 an hour every hour. Exactly. No, that's not true. Marie. Doing some work and chilling. That's right. People out on the West Coast, or even in mountain time, I guess, still at work. It is 6:30 over here on the East Coast. So everybody's off. Everybody's home, chilling and sculpting in ZBrush. What a crazy world that would be if ZBrush was a household name. I'm gonna go home and, I mean, it would be awesome if that was like a thing with Photoshop too. Just like going home and doing some digital painting. The world of art. I think that's maybe a little bit of a ways off. But hey, I do it. That's what I do for fun. Ah, I gotcha. Yes. Yes, I am here. G. Castro says, new fan, how did you come about the name Polygon? It sounds like Polygon, and the word folly was a word that I liked. That's about it. There's a longer version, but that's really it. Came up with it in college because I think I needed a username for like Twitter or something. I don't remember. Oh no, I had some project in school, in college, that we had to like do some branding thing, and I was like experimenting with a bunch of different names. I didn't end up using that one for the project, but that was one of them. And then I ended up using it later. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing too crazy. Am I gonna finish the sculpt? Yeah, absolutely. That's the plan. I really like this character. But we're in the very early stages. I just started this today. Let's see. I'm not rotating these out enough. Not nearly enough. Do more of a 45. It's more so what I was looking for. Let's just check a couple other things while we're here. Arms are still a little wonky, but I don't know how big I want them right now. Let's hop out. And our materials are freaking out, so we'll fix that too. The main thing there was to just fix our legs. Oh, I gotta show you guys something too. So in older versions of ZBrush with Zremesher, if you had jagged edges on open topology, the topology on a remesh would typically be broken or give you tries and a bunch of other stuff. But I recently discovered that the changes to the algorithm for a lot of the hard surface edge detection and stuff can actually be used for open geometry, and it actually works a lot better than it used to. So this is actually something that I discovered on accident, because normally I use group loops to clean up jagged edges on geometry. So like if you do something like this and you cut the geometry off, it has this jagged edge. So what I would do, because the remesh would be broken from this, is you could go to edge loops and click on group loops, and then that cleans up the jagged edge a little bit. It's still like warbly, but that doesn't matter. Zremesher doesn't care about that. But it cleans up the jaggedness, and then you can remesh that and get something pretty clean out of it. But anymore, I realized today that that's actually not even a necessary step. It actually does pretty good with the new remesher. So, Zremesher, it's awesome. Play with it more. Alright, what am I doing with this arm? This thing is like an enigma of a shape right now. I'm just trying to get room for it. The problem is he's kind of like leaning off to the side, so he's got a little bit of a flat here for the arm to hang down without it clipping into his body, so it doesn't really make, it can't make sense, it can't fit. So I think I'm just gonna move this out to the side and worry about it in posing later. It just doesn't really make too much sense right now where it's located. Alright, what else we got? What else are we working with? What about you guys? What are you guys working on today? Anybody working on anything cool? Anything fun? Yes, this is Blender. No. No, Eric, this is not Blender. Alright. All the fun stuff right now, which is technically all the hard stuff, figuring out proportions and playing around with that stuff. I like it a lot, but I know a lot of people don't, which is why a lot of people start with base meshes, which is why you can't really start with a base mesh for something like this. I mean, I guess you could, but there wouldn't really be any purpose. If I'm working on personal stuff though, I always start from scratch, just for the extra practice, and like I said, I enjoy it. It's fun. If I'm doing stuff where speed is of the essence though, absolutely base mesh city. Personal stuff though, more fun to go scratch. Gotta be intentional, right? Why you working? Why you sculpting? Just as a hobby, just for fun, or are you trying to get better? Trying to export a rigged Maya model into Source Filmmaker. Didn't go smoothly, and you'll restart tomorrow. Sounds like a productive day. It's always fun to say, you know what, I'll start again tomorrow. We'll restart that. No, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear. It's unfortunate. I'm actually, in my head right now, considering just breaking symmetry on this and going full ham, going full hog. Let's do a couple more changes here before we do that, though. I'm not going to break symmetry on the face yet, though. There's quite a bit that needs to change up there. But I have all the parts and pieces in, so that's good. We got all the hard stuff done. Now it's just a little proportional fixing. It doesn't look bad, it just looks incorrect. Give this guy a neck hole. And just because of the symmetrical body, the arms and shoulders are out further than they need to be, much further, so it's making him look very wide. He needs to taper in up here quite a bit more, but I can't do that. Can't do that with his arms right now. It's not gonna work. All right. On the body, what else do I want to do that's going to be symmetrical? Probably the vest, tie, maybe a couple other things with the shoe. Maybe we'll leave it for now. Once you break sim, it's tough to go back, or at least annoying. What software do you use to animate the character? I am not an animator, so there are quite a few options though. Probably what I would use would be Maya, just because it's what I'm most familiar with, and in my opinion, it's kind of the standard in terms of animation tools, especially for character stuff. I used to actually want to be an animator and did a lot of stuff in Maya way back in the day. And then I realized that being an animator is really hard. So I became a character sculptor, which turned out to be really hard too. Can't win. Can't win in the art industry. I want the collar. I feel like it tapers a bit awkwardly back. Alright, so up here in the face needs to move up. And especially the eyes. This needs to be more white space. So let's do that. Anything we do before breaking symmetry and getting an expression is definitely going to feel a little bit awkward. But like I said, I think the face isn't too far off. Alright, so we'll get rid of his junky hat, which we're actually going to do some stuff with here in a moment, once we get out of here. And, let's see. Alright, so I'm going to break some stuff, but you got to break stuff to fix it. Feeling much better in terms of white space there. Kind of want to exaggerate that angle a little bit more, but I'll probably wait till posing. And let's just mask off everything else. Except for our glasses and ears. Need to move those back up. So somebody was commenting about the multiple like layers or different objects over here. His ears are very high on his head, aren't they? I'll show you guys something here in just a moment. I want to get the shape of those glasses feeling a bit better from the side as well, because they're very flat. So over here, even on things like my glasses, I have split these up into 3 separate parts. So the actual lens, or the frame of the lens, the center portion, the nose piece, and then the handle that goes back to the ear. So even for stuff like that, I'll split it up quite a bit. Or actually, I can't change this yet. I have to T-pose this first. I may have missed it, but do you pose him at the end, or are you keeping him symmetrical for now? Zachary, I am probably keeping most of him symmetrical right now. I was actually kind of just talking about some of that stuff, like what I wanted to keep symmetrical as long as I could. For the most part, I want to keep the face symmetrical quite a bit longer, just because the all the shapes aren't there yet. In terms of accuracy, there's quite a bit more work to do there. But the main stuff is there. All the parts and pieces are there. It's just a matter of kicking it up a notch to the next level. And the body needs the vest, tie, and the buttons can wait. But mainly the vest and tie before I break symmetry there. Pants, honestly, they're probably fine. It's not really hard to do a pocket and then mirror it and reposition it a little. Shouldn't be too hard. Arms are like the main thing that's really throwing him off right now, so that's what I want to break symmetry on first, probably. Alright, so let's talk faces. And see what we got going on here. Thought I had this positioned correctly. Don't know what happened. I think I was playing with my ear earlier. Fixing some of the shapes. Alright, so what do we want to change here? Proportionally, the nose needs to be quite a bit larger. The eyes need to be closer together. I have opted not to create these kind of weird lines in the mouth. I played around with them earlier, kind of playing with that shape, but it felt very awkward. I'm talking about these lines going up. I think it just kind of breaks the character and it doesn't really work really well in 3D. We can maybe play with that later after we get more into the expression, but for now, it's definitely a no-go. So I think the big thing here is nose bigger, eyes more together, mouth maybe smaller after we make those changes. Let's do that first. And the eye shape needs to be more narrow in general, maybe a bit taller at the top. All right, so let's start with, let's start with this nose. Big old schnoz. Wizard of Schnoz. Alright. Scale that puppy up. I'm going to scale it up and actually push it back. He's getting a little bit too rounded, too bulbous in that area. So I want to shift that back. Now for the annoying one, the eyes. Eyes are always tough, right? Let's see. Let's just do a mask right through here, like so. Make sure we get the entire eyeball, our egg-shaped eyeball. Normally I like to keep my eyes as round as possible, if I can. In this instance, it didn't really make too much sense to keep them round, so I went ahead and just broke them. For a lot of these styles of characters as well, your eyeballs are going to be really large and connect up inside of your character's head. I don't know if it's doing it right now, but it probably will be doing that by the time I'm done. Let me take a step back here. Just a few minor changes. But that's what sculpting is. That's what I always say. It's all just a bunch of really small changes that add up to something larger eventually. Just takes time. Oh, and I was actually really proud of this this eyelid. The way that Zremeshed was so nice. I gotta show you guys the original part there too. Because I'm probably gonna reuse this. I might make this into a brush or something. I might reshape it, but I just really quickly poly modeled this piece for the eye to fit in, kind of matching the shape there. And then Dynamesh that in and end up, like I said, connecting up really, really well through here. I think you can see just based on the edge loops that we're getting. Alright, let me see. Alright, so nose wider, eyes smaller, actually. I'm gonna polygroup some of this stuff. It's kind of getting frustrating here. So within Transpose Master, you can just polygroup stuff. It won't transfer, so it doesn't really matter. So it's nice to do that now while you can. Makes it a little bit easier to control everything. All right. Let's go smaller on the eyes. Oh no, we're starting to lose our shape there. Just now upgrading to 2019, I want to use the new folders and Edge Keeper. Nice, yeah. The folders are awesome. And the Edge Keeper on Dynamesh. I think you're thinking of Zremesher. There's an edge detection on Zremesher. I don't know what the Edge Keeper is on Dynamesh. Maybe that's something else. Any other new features? Yeah, there's a bunch. I have a playlist of tutorials over on my YouTube channel talking about all of them. ZBrush 2019. I go through all the major features. There's a lot more than just folders and the edge detection for Zremesher. There's quite a few other changes just to Zremesher alone. Dynamesh I don't think really changed too much though. If at all. I don't think it changed at all actually. Alright, back to the schnoz. We need to be wider. Faces are tough, right? Gotta be really careful. This mask, it's taking forever to grow. There we go. I am trying to get that nose to be a bit wider. A bit more tapered there. Alright, so we're getting there. Honestly, the eyes could be even closer together, as well as the glasses. I'm wondering if we can just do like one big pinch in here, one big skew. We're gonna find out. See how much we can break all at once. I know that kind of broke my geometry in the middle of the head, but that is closer to what I am wanting. So we're gonna accept it. And then I'll make the changes here in just a moment. We'll let those kind of cascade back. Feeling much closer now, other than the broken geometry. You can make some eyelashes like that as well. I actually have a brush that does exactly that. That's how I make my eyelashes. That's how I made the eyelashes that are on this guy. So kind of a little bit of some broken topology here, but I very quickly just normalize that back out. I am using the alternative smooth algorithm. It doesn't need to be perfect, I just need it to be a little bit more clean. I just don't want any of those super tight pinches getting in the way. And hopefully that won't be a problem later. If it is, we can always fix it. I'm going to try to get that to be a bit flatter. I'm also going to change the angle of those glasses. I thought I did this. Maybe I might have loaded up the wrong file here before I started streaming. Hopefully not. So just trying to make those a little bit more visually interesting. They go up really high past the brow, or at least from the tilt of his head, it looks like they go pretty high. Alright, we are going to move this down. And I am going to shrink the height on the glasses ever so slightly. Quick skew. You know what? Let's keep them. I like them. I like them where they were. I really do want to make them a bit more visually interesting, though, from the other angles. Here's that garbage on the head that I don't want to happen. It's because I did a bad thing that I wasn't supposed to, but do as I say, not as I do. This little move here. Essentially what I did was I moved my geometry towards itself in the middle, and yeah, it's not the best thing to do while sculpting. But it's fine, I cleaned it. Polygon is my real name now. My name is Ben. Upgraded for the edge detection in the folders alone. Yeah, I mean, I think you should always upgrade. Yeah, I mean, it's a free upgrade and you get a bunch of new awesome features to play around with, and a lot of stuff that speeds up your workflow and makes working in ZBrush a whole lot easier. It's a win-win-win-win-win. There's really no reason to not upgrade. Occasionally there's maybe some stability issues, but any of that, I think, isn't really worth, not upgrading. And it's never been serious enough to cause like me to not be able to work. In the last upgrade, I'm actually still, so I'm on 2019.1.1. Wasn't there .1.2? I might need to run the upgrader again. I do not remember. I've been so crazy busy just running around with like a chicken with his head cut off. Haven't been able to really pay attention on the ZBrush Central website lately. Trying to get some more color here in the face, just kind of some quick stuff. Gonna get some darker tones there in the face, kind of looking like he's got some 5 o'clock shadow, kind of like me. Let's sample that. Zinner. It looks a lot darker than that. Maybe it's not. Yes, the ZBrush sins. It makes you a zinner. That's right. Alright, so just kind of some darker, kind of similar colors to what I'm seeing here, almost. But I think that's probably a little bit too intense for what I want. I want to pull back on his mouth corners quite a bit more. The mouth and this area in general is feeling pretty flat. I will load up the old face after we're done making all these changes as well, so you can kind of compare and contrast the difference. It's always fun to do. It's always a good idea to look back on what you're doing as well, just because it's hard to kind of see all that stuff when you're making lots of really small changes, but that's what it's all about, making lots of small changes. And over time it gets where you need it. He's feeling pretty good though, overall. A lot better. I want to do some stuff with that hat as well here soon. Alright, so proportionally just feeling a lot better. Let's make just a couple more tweaks to the face and glasses, and then we'll move forward to the hat. Lots of T-pose, transpose mastering. Alright. So, pretty much always try to avoid parallels if you can in everything you do, even if it's just a little bit. The only time you should try to include really strong parallels is if it aids the design in any way, but here that's definitely not the case. Pull these back on the face a little more. Whoa. Make sure we're not going into the eyebrows. Getting a little laggy here on my end. Shouldn't though. Don't really have too many active points. Alright. A couple changes to the face and then we will move on. These should be, whoops, these should be fairly quick. Alright, so I want to slide a good chunk of this backwards. So I like to do a lot of that kind of stuff orthographically. And just trying to get some of that to be a little bit more flat. It's not normally what you try to do, but in this case, it needed it. Then the other thing I want to do is try to pull back on these mouth corners a little bit more. Start getting that a little bit more rounded. That's definitely where we want some depth. And I think we're getting there. Cool, let's hop out. T-pose back. Pretty minor, quick fixes, but makes a big difference. All right, I am going to load in the old model here so I can show you all the stuff that we just did to our beautiful, beautiful boy's face. What's going on? My eyelash is messed up. Sayin Sanich, welcome. How you doing? Edit mode, nice username. What's going on? Probably gonna soften some of this around the bottom lid. I'm gonna leave the hard edge for now and soften that later. Ah man, I wish I would turn on for some of these folders, or I wish you could hold a different button to do that. All right. Here's our boy right now. Let me save him out, and then I'll load in the other one. Also, if you guys have a cool name for this character, a fitting name, please share. I always love to name my characters. All right. Here we go. The material's a little messed up, but we'll fix that. All right, so here is... Let's see, make sure that that's still visible. There is the old one. And here he is after all those changes. So a lot of the things that we just did were narrowing in the eyes, making them a little bit smaller. They definitely need to get closer. The nose needed to be a lot bigger. The mouth needed a lot more depth and roundness. And I pulled in some stuff and adjusted some proportions in the face. Altogether. But yes, feeling much better, much closer in my opinion. But yeah, lots of little things, right? That's what it's all about. It's cool to look back on that stuff though, to make sure kind of heading in the right direction. All right, let's delete our old boy here, and get to work on this hat. This hat's pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of a something you'd see from the 50s. I don't know what kind of hat this is, but I like it. A lot of sharp angles going on. That'll be interesting to play around with. Like the character style, it reminds me of Steven Silver. I'm not familiar with Steven Silver. I might be. I'd have to look him up. But the concept artist, to mention them again, is Luis Gadea. G-A-D-E-A, Gadea. Check out Louis' work. He's got an art station. No problem. No problem, edit mode. Alright, so let's see. What all do we need to do up here to our hat? We need an actual flat brim. Right now, I took two spheres, I squashed them, and stretched them into the shape that you see now. So, we got a lot of work to do. Oh wow, there we go. All done. Could be a nice little tuft of hair for him. Yeah, that's the real question. Does he have any hair under there? Maybe we can give him like one little alfalfa curl or curly Q or something. All right, so I think I have an idea of how I want to do this. I'm gonna slice off the bottom half of our hat. I'm actually just gonna do a straight line. So I'm slicing that off. So now I should just have a flat piece of geometry. And I'm gonna remesh that. And hopefully get something decent out of this. Only started to learn ZBrush, and I have a lot of questions for this model name. Larry. You know what? That's not bad. He does kind of look like a Larry to me. But Larry what? Larry Salary Man. I don't know. But Larry, I like it. I have a lot of questions. Feel free to ask away. That's what these streams are all about. Hanging out, chilling, answering questions if I can, and doing some sculpting for fun. Alright, so I have created that bottom edge there. And now I need to give it just a little bit of thickness. I could actually, let's see. Trying to think how I want to create the hole for his head. I think I'm just gonna do this a little bit differently. Pole Palm, what's up? Welcome. How are you doing? Yeah, we gotta get this down on the head a little bit more. I think the basic angle that I have right now is fine. I'm gonna show you guys a little trick on this in a moment. So, getting geometry to interact in a way that makes sense for the physical world is extremely important, because if you just have geometry that's kind of just like sitting on top of something, so for instance, like my collar, it's just kind of bleeding into my shirt. It doesn't really make any sense, right? Same thing with you know, a lot of stuff. Like for example, his bag, him holding that in his hand. Sure, I can put that there and just curl his fingers around it, but that's gonna feel like it doesn't weigh anything. We gotta sculpt some depression in the fingers and kind of make it feel like it's got, you know, some weight to it. Same thing up here in the hat. You know, I can just put this on top of the head and sure, it can get in the right position, but what we can do to make this interact a little bit better is use booleans to our advantage. And I'll show you how we can do that. I think I'm just gonna trash some of this hat really quick though. Hopefully it's not too thin. Dynameshing thin geometry is always a scary thing. Doesn't really like that. Alright, so what I am going to do is take his head that I've already got here, and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to get rid of the subdivision levels because I don't need them, so delete lower and set that to negative, and then I'm going to merge them together and dynamesh them, and it will boolean out the head. So merge down. So I'm on the hat, subtracting the head. Merge down, okay. Voila, just like that. Dynamesh. And it will subtract the head from the hat, just like that. And I had some awkward edges and some other stuff going on there. But we got the basic opening, so now I can work on, well, can't see, starting to get that to feel like it's around his head a little bit more naturally now. Let's just go back here on our poly paint. Make that a little bit easier to see. I'm gonna try a little trick here with topological masking. Yeah, it doesn't want to work. Now I'm redoing what I did before. Now that I've combined that and subtracted the shape. All right. Looks like a Randall, Randy, Andy. How about Larry Randallson? Randallson. Does kind of look like a Randall too. Randall Larryson. Larry Randallson. Randallson has a nice ring to it, I think. Let's go with Larry Randallson for now. Which channels or tutorials that I can watch to learn ZBrush? Man, Larry looks really good. Well, thank you, Sam. You can check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Polygon. I have a ton of videos and free content over there, as well as my Gumroad, gumroad.com/Polygon, where I have some paid content. And I have my mastering appeal course coming back here soon. Registration for that is closed, but I'll be opening that back up again very soon. Very soon. There will be more info on that shortly. But yes, I will also be uploading on my YouTube channel a little bit more regularly here soon, hopefully. That one I'm a little less sure on. It depends what happens with a couple other things with work. All right, I think this edge loop is really, oh, come back. It needs to just flatten out. All right, so now I can insert poly loop there. Okay, so I just deleted, I'm essentially deleting edge loops temporarily. And what that does is it will clean up the form, get rid of some nasty stuff in the silhouette. Let's see. Not quite ready to give that thickness just yet. Feels a little bit too witch hatty to me. Needs to come to more of a point. Let's see if we can do that. Definitely too wide from the front. It's got this like weird, you see that little extra like jagged piece? I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I'm pretty sure what it's trying to represent is like the little dimple that's in some of those old-timey hats. I don't know what this style of hat is called, so if anybody knows and can post it in chat, we can look up some references of it. But I don't know what it's called off the top of my head. All right, I need to get rid of some junk. I can't see. There we go. Look at that little neck ball just sitting in there. It's nice. All right, let's maybe give this a little thickness. And crease away. Doing a lot of poly modeling for this guy, which I love me some Zmodeler Brush, so I am absolutely okay with that. I'm gonna probably keep that as a hard edge for now and then soften that later. Or what we can do, let's try this. Let's try a quick little bevel in here. Still a little too tight. Maybe just one. Started sculpting in Maya and it was awful. Yeah. Aren't the sculpting tools in Maya more new? When I was doing a lot of stuff in Maya back in school, I'm pretty sure there weren't any sculpting tools that I knew of. Larry Randallson. How do you do multi-cut like you would in Maya or Max? I'm not sure what the multi-cut function is. Could you describe what it does? And I could probably figure out a way to do it or tell you what tool it is in ZBrush. There's like a slice. You can slice geometry. And then, you know, delete half of it if you want. It's a lot of different cut-like tools. Multi-cut. Multi-pass. Alright, I'm gonna make this interact with his head a little bit better. You know what? Here, you're going up here for a moment, buddy. I'm gonna make the brim a little less wide. There's definitely some asim going on with the hat as well, so that'll be something that we play with later. I'm wondering if that just needs to be a whole lot more more flat before it hits that point. What do you guys think? Let's see. We'll try it out. It's not like it's a difficult... Whoa, too much. Not a difficult thing to do. Then for this shape, oh boy, that's a thing. We'll have to figure that out. Cutting through a polygon from one point to another, or from one corner of a polygon to another. Ah, gotcha. So inserting an edge. Here, let's see, what do I got? All right, so here's some low poly stuff. Grab the Zmodeler Brush. There are a lot of different tools and functions in Zmodeler. One is you can hold the spacebar over an edge, a point, a face, an edge, or a point, and you get all sorts of different actions. I have a tutorial over on my YouTube channel, YouTube/Polygon, on how to use this tool. Just type in to YouTube Polygon Zmodeler Brush tutorial or something like that. You'll probably find it. But it goes through all these different functions. The one that you're looking for probably doesn't exactly exist. I'm thinking from cutting through a polygon, so you can do that, right? Insert a poly loop, boom. So you cut through, create an edge loop, right? Or a poly loop, as it's called here in ZBrush. From point to point, I think you can split a face, if I remember right, but it's a little strange. I know there's a way you can do it from poly, like if you want to triangulate a face. I actually believe if you want to triangulate all of them, that's even easier. I believe there's an option for that in Modify Topology. I don't use it very often though, because I don't need to. But I'm sure if you Google search ZBrush triangulate poly, you'll probably find it in the documentation. But I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for. I guess it kind of depends what you're trying to do, right? So. All right, back to our hat. back to trying to get this up to an appropriate level here. Kind of looks a little bit like a camp counselor to me. I want to bring this middle section in quite a bit. It doesn't physically make sense to do this because it's gonna squash on his head. Maybe I can just do it to the top somehow. It's just way too wide. The angle there needs to be a bit more steep. Maybe we can kind of pull that back to kind of fake that angle a little bit. Really too hard to figure things out. Well, you know, it is a different software, and there is a learning curve with everything, but it's not like your traditional 3D modeling package, and I would try not to think of it that way, or you're going to end up getting really frustrated. But yeah, definitely join the official ZBrush Discord channel, which you can find on the Pixologic website. Tons of people there, and also in the forums. If you want to post images of what you are trying to accomplish, I guarantee somebody will help you very quickly. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to do, so it's hard for me to know based off of the multi-cut tool and cutting through a poly. A lot of different ways to do stuff like that. Big program. Imagine trying to relearn Maya all over again. It's a lot, right? But thankfully, there's people like myself that do streams and have YouTube channels with all sorts of free tutorials and stuff on them. That's feeling a lot better to me. I want to get a band around this really quickly, and I think that'll just kind of help fill in the silhouette there a little bit better. I'm going to use my cube tube brush. This is a custom tri-parts welded brush, an IMM tri-parts brush that I like quite a bit. Show you how it works here in just a second. It's like essentially just creates a really nice clean tube of geometry with really nice topology. And I use this, so I was showing you guys the eyelids and eyelashes earlier on this guy. This is actually how I made them with this brush. Great brush. Here. So nice, getting some nice clean edges and everything else around the lids. And where are my lashes? I cannot find them. There they are, way down there. There we go. So really just simple, clean topology there that has some creases and is smoothed out to kind of fit that shape for the eyelash for our character. Pretty simple stuff. But it's all thanks to this guy. I'm going to clean this up really quick. Had my step count a little too high. Alright, quick little mirror and weld. And I think this might be, whoa, I think this might be a little too thick. Here. Let me crease up some edges and go from there. Yeah, still much too thick. Let's do here. I'm just gonna delete. I'm gonna re-extrude that. I guess I could just scale it in. It's really hard to scale this kind of stuff in evenly, which is why I prefer to just re-extrude it. I'm just gonna re-extrude it. Could just scale it in, but especially for something round like this, it's hard to get that to be super uniform, at least for me. So I find it easier to just do this. All right, and I want to work this geometry a little bit, just to align that a little bit better, get that feeling a bit more clean. Honestly, I could just keep this flat, but I think it'll make more sense to have some thickness. Honestly, I could just poly paint this on here, right? But where's the fun in that? It's a physical piece. We want it to look different. Have some form. All right. Now, for the fun part, extrude all polygons. And everything is all creased up, or already creased up, because I left the previous creases in there. Zmodeler with extrusion, the way it's done is actually very, very nice for creases, because it'll retain creases for extrusions and Q-meshing. The one thing I don't like about the crease algorithm for Zmodeler is that when you are inserting an edge loop or poly loop, for example, insert poly loop right here, depending on, or let's do it this way. So this is going parallel to this edge loop, which is also creased. And I don't know what it is, but if it's within some certain range, like proximity to a creased edge, it will also crease that poly loop. I don't think you can turn that off, but it's really just like an extra couple clicks to uncrease stuff like that, but I wish it just didn't do that ever. If I can turn that off, if anybody knows of a way to turn that off, that would be great. But I don't believe so. I don't believe there's a way. All right, let's make this a little taller. How long have you been working with ZBrush? I've been sculpting in ZBrush for over 5 years. Working professionally in ZBrush for going on 4. About that. But, you know, time's always, like years are a really bad measurement of, you know, how long you've spent in a software. I always say that I wish you could have, like, you know, in Steam, how it gives you your hour count in your games. I wish that happened in ZBrush. I wish I could get an hour count of how long I've been using the software, like how many hours I've racked up. That'd be really, really fun to know. Maybe it's like calculated somewhere in the back, but I've updated and uninstalled and reinstalled ZBrush so many times that there's no way I could ever know. Alright, probably a little bit too hard on that mouth corner. I'm going to leave that for now. Come on, there we go. Alright, so we have about 30 minutes left before I have to make room for the next sculpture. And based off of taking a step back here, there's quite a few changes that we can make up here to the hat still to continue pushing that. Proportionally, it's quite a bit small, so I think we can make that a bit larger. And maybe start to get that secondary shape in. I'll probably wait to do that until I break symmetry to make that align with the hero angle camera view here. Oh goodness. But yeah, let's work on some other stuff. I want to create him a little tie here next, I'm thinking, after I scale up our hat ever so slightly. Let's see. Steam rewards. I don't even pay attention to Steam rewards. No, I don't mean a reward system. I mean, I literally just want to know how many hours I have accrued in ZBrush. I think that'd be fun to know. Many days and nights sculpting in ZBrush. Like anything else, just takes a long time to get good at. Am I going to do the eyelash thing? I'm not sure what you mean by the eyelash thing. He already has eyelashes, though. I don't think I'm missing anything there. I don't know if you saw it earlier, but I was showing off the... Whoops, come back. The eyelash here when I was working on my cube tube brush. So I use the cube tube brush. It's my custom brush. It's over on my Gumroad. But essentially, it's just a simple, clean tube. It gives you some really nice end caps. It's a tri-parts welded IMM brush. But that's how I made the lashes there. It's good stuff. I'm gonna delete our little T-pose. And let's take a look at some other stuff here in the body while we are trucking forward. But yes, he's come a long way in the face. I'm liking the changes there. All right, so a tie. Ties are always fun. I think they're pretty easy to do. Just a tube of geometry. Honestly, I could use the cube tube for pretty much the whole thing. We could poly model this. We could just pull and stretch and squash with Move Brush. What are you guys feeling? What are we feeling today? Maybe some combination of all the above. A lot of the time, I like to start sculpting quickly with Dynamesh and just kind of squashing my geometry all over the place. And then I'll do some quick retopo in ZBrush with Zremesher in the Zmodeler Brush. But you have to know how to use the Zmodeler Brush pretty well to be able to do that, just because there's a lot of things that need to be tweaked and played with. Ugh, this is hard to get in on. Let me turn off the collar. And I don't need to wrap this all the way around his neck. I really just need it to have the illusion of that because it's going to be tucked up under his collar, right? So there's no real reason to sculpt that all the way around there. It's kind of a waste of time, so we won't do that. Now you're looking like a real man. That's right. Get that tie on there. Real men wear ties, right? All right. So one thing that's really important when you are doing anything that is in the family of drapery. So I would say this tie, how taut it is, or something like this bag and how taut that is in the hand. These kind of things are really important to make something feel believable. So, for example, you would definitely want the bags of, or the straps of this bag to be nice and straight, so it feels like the bag is pulling down and has a weight to it. If they were wavy or had any kind of warble to them, it would kind of break that illusion. So, same thing kind of here. This is going to be pretty tight around his neck. Shush, neighbor's doggy. It's okay. My neighbor's kid has like one of those, not an RC car, but it's like the big wheel. Is that what they're called? A big wheel? It's like one of those. A little car for a kid that they can drive around in. He's like 4. He's real cute. He's like zooming around in the yard. I can hear him. My neighbor's dog's going insane. But anyway, you always want this stuff to feel nice and taut, or else it's not going to feel believable. So even for simple stuff like a strap, you gotta make that feel nice and good, nice and believable. Let's do a mirror and weld. And let's kind of clip this up. So I'm gonna try, let's see. Oh no. All right. They're going nuts. I'm just doing a few quick clips and slices here. Clean that up. Oh, here in weld. Add perspective on. So whenever you are slicing or cutting geometry from the profile, always make sure that you have perspective turned off, or it will skew your slice. It gets really, really frustrating to deal with that stuff. Kind of reshape this up a bit. And I'm thinking, do I really care about the topology here? How clean do I want this to be? Probably not that big of a deal. I'll just leave it for now, and maybe we can come back and clean it up later. Let's do the cube tube brush though to pull down. Create the actual tie here, the length of the tie. Alright, so we got that. Let's go into our stroke menu, turn on size. See what that's doing with the curve fall off. So we want to go a little bit smaller to a little bit larger. And then at the very end, it tapers back down to be smaller. Swoop. Let's make our brush size, our draw size a little bit larger. Huh. Alright, so I think that's basically what we are looking for. Let's make this come up a little bit earlier though. So something like that. And we need an edge loop down the middle so that we can actually get the point there. How do you control the camera, or movement of the camera in ZBrush? I can't even move the camera with my mouse. So you can, it sounds like you're very, very new to ZBrush, so I would recommend, just watching a quick tutorial. But right click is the answer to move and rotate around your object. Holding Alt and right clicking will let you move your object around. Pan is what it's called. And then holding Alt, clicking, and then letting go of Alt will let you zoom. So that is the hotkey for that. They're also over here if you want to move, zoom, or rotate. But yes, I would highly encourage you to check out some introductory tutorials. I actually have a quick start course over on my Gumroad. But if you want to take the time to go through the, literally, here, I think if you Google ZBrush videos, it's the first one. We'll see. Z Classroom. It is the very first one. So go to Z Classroom. It's Pixologic's official tutorials. And beginner, start here. And you can learn all about, they should be in the appropriate order. Maybe they're by category. There's a bunch in here, but it will teach you how to use every single thing in ZBrush. But like I said, if you want something a little bit more organized or concatenated to all the important stuff, there's always my How to ZBrush beginner course over on my Gumroad. But I always encourage people to go with the free stuff first to try it out. Same thing with the brushes. You're gonna end up figuring out what works best for you. And what works best for one person doesn't necessarily work best for everybody. For this, I am actually going to get rid of the thickness so that I can extrude it after the fact, because I want to spend a little less time worrying about messing up my thickness, and I'll just add it later. Okay, so this needs to get a little more wide. Let's do this. Delete edge loop. Come on. Oh God. Let's do a quick save before this crashes on us. Okay. Wow. Oh, you know what? I think I know what's wrong. Here, let me see. I think I have two pieces of geometry perfectly overlaying each other. I'm not sure how. Let me try something really quick. So some of the normals are acting weird. We're gonna undo back to this point. Try to figure out what's going on, do some problem solving. Yeah, huh. Can I delete this edge loop? No. Yeah, look, there's like some kind of weird geometry overlay thing going on here. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, you know what? I bet I know. I think that there are two pieces of geometry overlaid over each other, but I did a mirror and weld function. Oh my God, I've never had that happen, ever. So these two pieces of geometry are overlaid over each other perfectly because when I inserted this curve mesh, I did it symmetrically. This is like such a rare issue that no one here will ever experience, but I'm going to explain it anyway. So when I did a mirror and weld function, it actually welded the verts of those two pieces of geometry over top of each other. That's so weird. I only did a mirror and weld because I was too lazy to put an edge loop in the middle of this. So it's like a quick little cheat way for me to put in a quick edge loop. That is so weird. Like I said, I've never had that one happen before. But now it'll work, so I can just delete these. Experience something new every day, right? New problems to fix. Like a blank canvas, that's right. Night Dream, yes, I used a curved tube brush to make the tie and get the taper and everything else. I'm actually just kind of correcting some of that right now, and I'm going to delete some of this and clean it up just a little. But yeah, pretty straightforward. And just from my experience, I know that I'm going to want to add in an extra edge loop down here to help retain that shape. Whoa. All right, so we have just about everything we need there. Now we can add our thickness back in at whatever we like. So let me just do an extrude all polygons and go a little bit more thick, just a little. All right. Another little trick here is instead of doing a crease down the middle of this shape, because that'll make everything really hard and tight to get that point. So now if we try to, move this later on, you see how it has a creased edge loop all the way through there? That feels really awkward. So there are a couple different ways you can get around that. You could try creasing just this edge. but then it kind of creates this kind of weird transition here as well. Could maybe try to crease a few more points, but really it ends up, I think, being more trouble than it's worth. So what I like to do is do a kind of softer bevel through here. Nice and tight, and it should retain that shape a little bit better while keeping the center line nice and clean. And I'm gonna do a little deformation inflate on this. Just to make it a little bit more thick. Alright, so we got pretty much all the basic parts and pieces. It's just a matter of figuring out the proportions there with the vest and everything else to get that all feeling good. In your city, it's a little bit hard to find a normal school of VFX. Yeah, there's nothing like that around around me either. Completely self-taught over here. I went to school for something completely different. I was doing a lot of front-end web dev and web design at that time. Discovered ZBrush and just sculpted a lot. And here we are. I think if you have the opportunity to go to school, though, it's very nice. There's a lot of really good benefits to it. If you got the money and the time and you want to go, heck yeah. I think school's awesome. I usually like school a lot, and I kind of wish I could go back just because I like the environment and I like learning a lot. That is a lot more messy than I thought it was. Alright, we need to fix a couple things. Think Tank Training Center. Yeah, if you guys got some resources you can share, absolutely. Oh, I'm kind of regretting giving this collar thickness when I did. Makes it a lot harder to manipulate the geometry because you have to manipulate twice as much while retaining the thickness of your object. I'm gonna delete this edge loop temporarily. It's just getting in the way. I'm about to delete the thickness off this thing. Redo it. Come on, here we go. Just trying to get that up over the shoulder there. And then hopefully get some more height on this. in Moscow, there's a lot of things, but finding a VFX school is like finding a diamond in the rough or diamond in the glass. Bad comparison. Yeah, I want to go back to school too. It's rare that I'm not the only one. Most people hate school, I feel like. There's so much content online in terms of, you know, educational stuff though. For this kind of thing, I don't really feel like you need a higher education to lead you there. And oftentimes a lot of them are worse than what you can find online. That's why I enjoy making stuff. Because that's kind of, I remember being there myself. And back when I was kind of getting into ZBrush, there wasn't a ton online in terms of tutorials or anything else. There was some stuff, but not very much. Pretty much I started with a couple books and went from there. I feel like nobody really does that anymore though. I'm really kind of noodling with this collar, but I feel like it's slowly starting to shape up and get a little bit closer to the concept, so I'm kind of happy to do so. I like to obsess over my shapes. Alright, that's enough noodling on the collar. Let's take a look at some proportions here. It's always good to take a step back and look at things from a mile-wide perspective. And I think he's really starting to shape up nicely. We kind of left the shoes to die. I started to do a couple things down there and then I stopped, but we can maybe go back to those here in a moment. Unfortunately, I can't drop things on the canvas with live boolean on. It tends to make stuff freak out here. Looks good. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hate school until you get out of it. That's right, yeah. I like school even when I was in it, though. I worked at my school. Is that all vertex paint? Yes, it is poly paint in ZBrush, but poly paint is technically vertex paint. Kind of just blocked out colors with a little bit more variation in the face, obviously. Kind of want to do this bag too, but we are actually almost out of time. I've not been keeping too good a track on that. Yeah, so poly paint, it's called poly paint, right? You'd think it'd be applied to the polygon. But as you can clearly see, if I try to paint on the polygon, it doesn't do anything. But if I paint there, ooh, look, it just grabbed the vert. So poly paint is vertex color. So if you want to paint a face black, you'd have to get the surrounding 4 verts, and then obviously they grade it out from there. But at higher resolutions, it's not really quite as much of a thing. So your paint resolution is based on what you got here in your polys. All right, so we got like 5 minutes, I guess. So any questions or last minute things that we can take care of, we shall do. I don't really want to do too much more with the profile on this guy, just because the pose indicates so much of what's going on here with his weight. Let me see if there's some quick proportional things I can fix down here. Start getting those legs beefed up a little. For what did we say? Larry Randallson? I need to save that. Larry Randallson. That's like one step above John Doe, but just ever so slightly. You know what? We got a couple minutes here, so I'm gonna, as long as anybody doesn't have any questions, I'm gonna show you guys a cool extraction trick that I like to do for my geometry. How did you do the collar? Not sure what it's called. The flaps of the shirt that's on the neck. Yes, it is indeed a collar. I used my cube tube brush. I keep talking about this thing. Gumroad, where is it? My curve brushes. So gumroad.com/Polygon curve brushes. There are 4 curve brushes that this comes with. The one here, cube tube brush. It's this brush. That is how I made a lot of different stuff on this guy. I made it because I use it all the time and I needed something to do it. But essentially I kind of drew out the curve there. Let me get rid of that modifier, sorry. So we got the curve geometry. If you've ever used a curve brush before, you can mirror that over to the other side so it links up nicely. And then I used the Zmodeler Brush, which is the poly modeling tool in ZBrush, to essentially give it the curve in and extruded down in, as well as the thickness and the creases and a couple of the edge loops there. If you want to learn more about the Zmodeler Brush, which is one of my favorite tools in ZBrush, hands down, amazing tool. If you go over to my YouTube channel or just type in YouTube, Polygon Zmodeler Brush, it'll probably pop up. Yeah, it's this one. It's the second one. So hard surface tutorial. It's about an hour or 3 hours long. Sorry, that goes through all the Zmodeler functions, as well as you get to build a clock along the way. So I think that's fun. It's always nice to have something that you are working towards in a project. But yes, let's see. All right. So let's try to do a quick little extraction here. I'll show you some stuff. Thanks a lot for the answers. No problem, San. Hope I can be a good sculptor. Well, of course you can, man. It's all just a matter of time. If I can do it, if any of the artists that you look up to can do it, you can do it too. Goodbye, Larry Randallson. Nice tie. All right. Well, let me show you guys one last little trick before I send you off. I am going to grab a couple pieces of geometry here, just as a little template. And if you have used ZBrush for a little bit, then you are probably aware of a little tool called, here, I think we'll just, let's take a step back. Then you're probably aware of a tool called extraction in ZBrush. Extraction is really fun to play around with, but it can be a little frustrating sometimes. So I'm not going to do the vest shape perfectly because we don't really have enough time. So I'm just going to do just like a little ring here. So you use masks to do extractions in ZBrush normally. So I draw out my mask and click in the tool menu and click on extract, and it extracts out the geometry there. That's just a preview though, so you have to actually click the accept button here. If you move your camera, it makes that go away. But if you don't like the thickness there, if you want it to be larger or less thick, you have to sit here and play around with your little thickness slider and click extract multiple times, and that can be a little bit of a hassle. So what you can do instead is draw out your mask in the shape you want on your geometry, press Ctrl W, and that will polygroup it. Control-Shift-click your geometry and go to Modify Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. And I'll scroll down in my display properties and just click on double so that I can see what's going on here. And now what I can do is make this geometry a little bit more clean and easier to work with. So I like to use Zremesher at a very low value. This is such a simple shape that 0.1 is plenty of polygons to get what we need here. So we just click it, let it calculate, gives us a little piece of geometry that I'll look at here in just a moment. Ooh, there we go. So that's what I would expect from Zmodeler when your geometry has these jagged edges. See how it did that? So I said it was doing a lot better with some of the stuff from earlier, and it definitely did. But I think polygroups and edge detection have something to do with that. So if you are having that problem, you can actually just slice off your geometry really quick like that and get nice clean edges. The way I did that was with the Slice Curve brush. Control-Shift-click up here to select it. And then you can just Zremesh without any problems. Any problems at all. But if you have a really complicated shape, you might want to spend a little bit more time, cutting it up or anything like that. So here's your geometry. We got like one try down there, which is silly. Oh, it's because the poly count was much higher than it should have been. It should have been on 0.1. Should be much more simple. So there we go. We got nice clean edge loops there. Very good stuff. And we can turn everything back on. Like I said, not the shape we want, but it's fitting the geometry nice and clean. And instead of using this little extract button here, we can go to the Zmodeler brush and hover over a polygon, hold the space bar, and choose extrude all polygons. Bam. And now we can interactively just sit here and click and slide in or out, whatever you want. I obviously want to go out for my clothing and kind of figure out the thickness for my geometry, just kind of playing on that. But that's how I'm going to create the vest. I didn't really have enough time to make that specific shape because I wanted to show this off really quick. But that's the whole process. I use it all the time. I think you guys are going to get a lot of use out of it for those that are still hanging out. But I think that's a good note to end on. So I will probably play with this character a little bit more before my next stream, which will be on next Tuesday. What is that? 11th? Yes, the 11th. So just a week from today. Same time, same place, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern U.S. time. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. If not, I'm always uploading new stuff over on my YouTube channel, so you can catch me over there. All right. Make sure we don't have any last-second questions. Is the model going to be a high-detailed one? I'm not sure what you mean by that. It's going to be as detailed as the concept over here, I guess. Fantastic technique. Awesome, awesome. And Fred says, great tricks. Awesome, Fred. Well, I'm glad that you guys were able to check it out. All right. Until next time, like I said, next Tuesday, same time, same place. I will hopefully see you guys then. Have a great rest of your night. See you guys.